Are you a leader who's facing some setbacks in life? Are you wondering if there are ways to help you bounce back from those setbacks? Well, you're in the right place. Our guest today is going to share her tool, Your Life by Design, where she will discuss how to move out of the life of duty and be into your inspired destiny. Welcome to Happy and Healthy Mind Program 131. Today, our guest is Carly Pepin. She's an international speaker and consultant with specialized focus on human behavior. With the global reach, she delivers the message that regardless of one's background, occupation, or origin, every individual encounters some personal and professional challenges stemming from their own perceived flaws. Carly emphasizes that the key to living a fulfilling life lies in how you utilize and transform these stories. And I'm your host, Dr. Rosina Lakani. I help leaders eliminate burnout. You see, I've been helping people come out of severe depression and anxiety over the last 26 years as a psychiatrist. I realize that the root cause of many of both mental and physical illnesses is chronic stress, which leads to burnout. Therefore, in these programs, we share tips for mental fitness so you could eliminate this stress induced burnout, develop mental resilience to prevent illnesses, and live your best life with hope, health, and happiness. And this program is for educational purposes only, so please consult your healthcare provider for any medical advice. So, all right, let's jump in. Thank you, Carly, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so tell us, how did this topic become important in your life?
Yes, so just for my own personal challenges as well, I had some pretty big setbacks in my life. And I just remember feeling very stuck, very stagnant. And I thought changing my environment would do the trick. So I actually moved to another country. I moved from the United States to Australia, thinking that that would solve my problems. And it was quite a gift because once I got there, I was all by myself. And then I had to sit with myself. And then I realized it was all coming from within. So that's when I actually started studying human behavior, figuring out why we do what we do, and really transforming my life so that today I could really focus on what's important to me. I'm back in Los Angeles where I left before, and I actually love it more than ever. I think it's going to be someplace I come back to for the rest of my life. So it's funny, the thing that I thought was just so awful before is actually one of my favorite things. It was all just what was happening inside me that was causing the problem.
That is so inspiring. I would love to learn some of the things that helped you, and our audience would also benefit. But before we jump into the techniques, tell me, how is life different once you applied some of the principles and tools that helped you?
Yeah, so some of the biggest components is just personal fulfillment in general, right? So as opposed to living a life where I'm doing things that I think I should do, I need to do, I have to do, I'm supposed to do, I'm paying very close attention to what's inspiring to me and doing things that I love, which is very different because if we wake up every day and we're like, "Oh, I need to do this, I need to do that." We put it to the side and we procrastinate. We hesitate on it and then we get frustrated with ourselves and beat ourselves up for doing something that ultimately is something we don't love. So that's really important, is the fulfillment component. And then on top of that, it's also been really helpful with unrealistic expectations, as opposed to be solding like the fantasy that everything's going to be good and everything's going to be happy all the time. The reality is that we're going to have setbacks and we're going to have challenges. And if we can see and understand how those are serving us and how to overcome them, it just becomes a normal part of the journey, which, guess what? The more that you're willing to face those, the more that you're willing to take on, which means you get to take on bigger problems in the world. You know, if you want to help more people as a leader, you're going to take on bigger problems. So it's wisdom to learn how to bounce back from the setbacks, how to shift out of that stress.
That's wonderful, wonderful. And so, do you find yourself you're getting either less burnout from all the things that you are doing, or you're able to bounce back faster from those setbacks?
A little bit of both. So I'll get some burnout when I'm doing something that is not really in alignment with what I love and it's not inspiring to me, and I will get burnt out. But the interesting thing is if it's something that's aligned with your unique why, your unique purpose, you're not going to get burnt out. It actually energizes you. So that's why when I say life by design, I'm like, if you just fill your life with things that you love every day and it's aligned with your purpose, you'll find the energy to do it. It's created from within, right? You don't need outside motivation. So yes, but does burnout happen for me? Yeah, because it's life. We're humans. We're on our path. We're evolving. We're growing. And it's just feedback where it's like, okay, cool. Like, where did I get off track? So it's a very actually helpful feedback mechanism to make sure that we're on track and in alignment with what we love.
That is wonderful thought to consider these burnout symptoms not the failure, but a signal, a feedback mechanism to help you even fly higher.
Absolutely.
I love this stanza from a poem by Allama Iqbal. He's kind of great poet from Pakistan. And there is stanza that says, and I'll say it in Urdu so people can enjoy the beauty of the rhythm. तुम दिए बादे मुखालिफ से न घबरा ओ उकाब ये तो चलती है तुझे ऊंचा उड़ाने के लिए. Means don't be scared of the wind that blows against you. It is blowing to help you fly higher.
Absolutely love that. That's a really beautiful poetic way of putting basically like everything's here for a purpose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm really getting excited to share some of these tools that helped you. So please share what helped. And let's kind of consider one of the audience. Let me just take my example. If I'm feeling stuck because of some setback in my life, what are the steps, the first steps I need to do when I'm feeling this overwhelm and I feel like, oh my God, I can't do anything and everything is out of my control. That negative dialogue that starts going in your head. I'm not good enough. I'm not made out for this. Never going to work. I'm a failure. I should give up and stuff like that. So think about client who is in that state and consider me that client and help me through.
Absolutely. So, if we think about failure and kind of the negative thoughts that come up around failure, the interesting thing is again, failure is just a feedback mechanism. So, the first step in everything is to realize like when we have a setback, when we have any challenges in our life, it genuinely is a feedback. It's a feedback mechanism from our world, from our environment to let us know what's going on. Part of understanding how to overcome it is we're starting to learn how to read those signals of the feedback mechanism, right? We beat ourselves up and we put ourselves down when we're comparing ourselves to someone else who we perceive could do it and could overcome whatever we're struggling with. And that just doesn't work because remember, that individual has a different life purpose than you. They have a different set of values, an intrinsic set of values. And I'm going to dive into that because that's a really important one. It's actually about knowing yourself. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And I have a question
Mm.
over here. So when you're talking about comparing with others, one question comes up is like, okay, but you want to learn from others too. You don't want to be stagnant. Like if you are trying to learn to bike and you are falling down, it's okay to learn from the teacher. It's okay to learn from the family. And it's okay to observe others, how they're balancing their body and how they're doing it, and then practicing. You may still fall down, but to learn and to grow, you have to kind of, in a way, compare yourself to others who are doing it, not in a negative way, but the positive way. So, can you please differentiate how is
Mhm.
this comparison to somebody who is ahead of you on the path that you are trying to go versus learning from them? So, yeah.
Mhm. Perfect. And this is, I love Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, envy is ignorance, right? Imitation is suicide. And so when we take the comparisons to such a degree that we take the learning into an imitation component and we're trying to mimic another individual, that really is truly when it becomes an internal suicide because you're killing the parts of yourself that are quite valuable to go and try and be someone else. Now, here's the interesting thing when you're witnessing and viewing someone that is ahead of you, yes, they may be ahead of you in one specific area of life, but what you're discounting is that you're actually ahead of them in a different area of life. And that's because each individual on this planet has a unique set of values and a unique life purpose. When you can identify what your values, what your purpose, what your true priorities are that are aligned with your soul, your path, guess what? You're going to see that you've invested just as much time and energy in that as the person that you've been labeling as ahead of you. Now, the cool thing about this is that when we can identify those things, that is technically like your superpower. Those are your strengths. That's your unique genius. If you keep trying to make your genius what you're seeing as someone else's values, someone else's purpose, that's the imitation of suicide. Can you learn from them? Yes. Take the knowledge, take the wisdom, take the education, but apply it to your own life, apply it to your own value system, and keep nurturing you as that unique individual. You don't need to be someone else. There's that person's already taken. I can't, it's just no, we don't need two people the same on the planet. Just be yourself. Like you're actually needed. So when you shift out of that comparison and realize that nobody's actually ahead of you or behind you, we all just focus on different things based on what our unique purpose and values are. You could really fine tune and grow your unique values, your unique strengths, your wisdom.
Wonderful. Yeah. I use a technique in my book, and it's called, I call it opportunities for improvement, where instead of just focusing on, oh, I did not do this or I could not do that, you first identify of the goal that you have, what percent or what part of it you were able to achieve. So you appreciate yourself that, okay, you took 5 steps or you took 3 steps and you need to take 10 steps. So when you appreciate that you have been able to take 3 steps and identify those strengths, then it allows you to take further steps. But if you keep putting yourself down for not having those 10 steps, then you become in this negative space where it is very hard to move, or you get stuck basically. So that's wonderful to kind of recognize your own strengths and then learn from others and then apply it according to your value system and your unique strengths. Wonderful. So, all right. So, let's say I'm a client who is stuck and feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough. And then I hear your tool and I apply it and I say, yeah, I've been able to take these 3 steps, but I still need to take these 7 more steps. What should I do next?
Yeah. So, and again, it's basically identifying what's keeping you stuck. So, life is about quality questions, right? Instead of just saying, why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? And this person is not stuck. Again, you're just getting stuck in comparison. And that's actually keeping you more stuck. But it's like, okay, cool. Like, what is it that I perceive is actually holding me back? Like, what if I moved forward? A great question is if I move forward, what would happen? Because if you say, well, only good things will happen, well, then what are some of the things that you're worried about if good things will happen? You're not actually, there's no fear of something amazing happening. There's no fear around that. There's fear of what else could come as a result. I've had individuals that I've worked with who have built great wealth and then their family disconnects from them. And that could be a fear for you. That could be something that comes up. And that something, as something like that comes up, we go back and we work on the fears, we work on transmuting it, and we work on dissipating it so that you move forward irregardless.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I could see so many times in my life when fear of success and then the consequences that come because of that, whether in terms of, if you become rich and then people would think, oh, you are a immoral person, or if you become really successful, your family would not be as close and stuff like that. And I could see kind of in my life as I reflect back that those were some of the fears that held me too.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
and it's interesting because it's not just it doesn't come out of nowhere, right? It usually is gonna come from our past, something we witnessed or something we observed. So fears, it's no such thing as fear of the unknown. You can't have anything in your subconscious that you're afraid of if it's completely unknown. Because if I told you about something that's completely unknown, you wouldn't know whether to fear it or not. You don't have a label on it, whether it's bad or good. So it's remembering too, it's like once we identify what those fear are, it's like, where did that actually come from? And then we go back and we clear the root. We clear the root cause of that perception. And that gives you the freedom to move forward without being paralyzed by those fears.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so I'm your client who is identified that these some of the past experiences or fears that were holding me. What should I do next?
So this is where I work with, and it's funny, I'll just use clients as examples as well. So I was just working with an individual, and they were concerned. They're doing some speaking, and they're concerned about making mistakes when they're speaking. Right now, I said, "Where's that coming from?" So when we go back in time and we look at that concern, we can see where there were some mistakes in their perceptions made in the past, some challenges with old talks. And I actually just go through and I take it one by one, step by step to each different scenario and situation. And we ask quality questions to see how all the challenges actually served that individual when they were speaking. Now, when you ask those quality questions to see how it serves you, it becomes a purposeful event. When you
Hmm.
don't see a purpose behind something, it'll still be bad. It'll still be something that's scary, something you want to avoid. But as soon as it becomes purposeful, you say, oh, wow, like I'm actually okay if this happens again. So not only do you bounce back from a setback, but you remove any fear of it happening in the future. And if it does happen again in the future, it has no more emotional pull on you. You won't react, you'll just act accordingly. So it gets you in your executive center.
Let me bring another example. So, when I was 19, I was going through a speaking training class. I got two opportunity on the same day, one my own and one somebody else who got sick. And they said, "Oh, Rosina, you can do it. You can do it." I said, "Like it would be too much." And the person said, who was helping me said, "Don't worry, you're really good. You'll do well. So go ahead and try." And I said, "Okay, fine." And so I went into one event that was earlier during the day, and I did pretty good. And then I went to the next event, and we 15 minutes to do the speaking. Now, the second event was much larger, and one of my teachers had brought a guest to show how good his students are, okay? And I get up and I start, and then my first sentence, and then I totally blank out. I
Okay.
totally blanked out. And I'm kind of staring at people, and I nothing would come to my mind. So then I ended, I sat down. And so my 15 minutes became 15 seconds. Some people may have appreciated not being given the lecture for 15 minutes, but that was pretty devastating. And so that kind of experience at 19, could impact this internal psyche a lot. And so when I was going for my first paid speaking gig, and I was going to speak on the stage to 400 people that I did not know anyone. And I was flying over there. There was this fear. What if something like that happened? What if I get on the stage and my mind blanks out? So I don't know if it's so easy to just kind of say, okay, what purpose did that fill in my life about, blanking out? I can't think of any great reason
It's okay.
that happened.
And it's actually great that you bring that up because people do build unrealistic expectations. When we talk about things, I know when you talk about things or when I talk about things, we do simplify it when we're on a podcast or we're giving information because we'd love for you guys to get some insights. But the reality is I don't want anyone to have unrealistic expectations that this will always be easy. Depending on the level of perceived trauma that you go through in a situation will depend on whether or not you might want some assistance to help you to get to the other side. So if something's really simple, a client generally doesn't bring it to me because they're trained and they understand how to get to the other side. And I know that you know this as well. But if it's something that's quite like a lot more complicated and a lot more overwhelming and a lot more like stressful, that's what I get to hear from them every week. That's what they bring to the table. They can work out the little bits and pieces. So it's a great example because as you're saying, it's hard to come up with the answers. Sometimes it is hard to come up with the answers. And I know you know this, that if it is hard, that's when our clients come to us so that we can assist them to get to the other side so that we're focused, we're paying attention to the answers, we're paying attention to what's going on so that they can get those for themselves and they can move forward.
One of the things that did help me is something that you talk about. So I was listening to one of your other talks, and you talked about purpose and identifying the purpose. So can you share that technique? And then I'll share how I applied that technique in my life and it helped me.
That would be amazing. Okay. So, yes, when we think about life purpose, your life actually demonstrates your life purpose. When you think you don't know your purpose or you don't have a purpose, it's because you're comparing yourself or you're judging what's important to you. Every day you wake up and you invest time without someone having to remind you. No one has to nag you. You need no motivation. You invest time in what's truly important to you. Very, very important. Every morning, I mean, I have a really high value on family. Family is very purposeful to me. While I love business and I love speaking, when I wake up, the first thing that I do in the morning is I actually spend time with my family, right? That's the first thing nobody has to remind me to do. And I love it. So, family is very purposeful to me. And it's important for us to know that because if I'm just sitting here subordinating to someone who works, well, Elon Musk is a great example. He loves his job, he loves his business, his coworkers and his colleagues and his employees have become part of his family, and he'll be at work a lot. That lifestyle wouldn't work for me. If I compare my life to his and I say I need to do that to build a huge business, I'm going to burn out and I'm going to drain myself. If I wake up every day and do what I love and I spend that little bits of pieces of time with my family, that fills my soul, that fuels me, that gives me more energy to get throughout the day. Right. So it's really paying attention to how you invest your time that energizes you, what you're genuinely doing every day. I don't care about what you think you should be doing, what you're supposed to do. I want to know what you actually do and what's truly valuable to you. And ask yourself the question like, how can I create income off of that? I have a lot of family business as well. I have my own business when I do coaching and consulting, but I also have things on the side that I do that I genuinely have businesses with my family. That's how important they are to me. So I'm smart enough to include them because that's my purpose. That's my value system.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So to close the loop of my story, so I think what helped me was remembering the purpose. So you see, I had a patient, and I just call him Jerry because that's how I remember, anonymize him. So his name was Jerry, and he was very depressed and injured, and he killed himself.
Hmm.
And I really felt that, and I was going to talk to this group of injury officers. And so I really felt that my talk, my message can help these injury officers to create the systems where so many Jerrys would be saved. And so I kept on telling myself as my anxiety was building and I was getting tight and I was afraid, what if, what if, what if, I kept on using the mantra, imagine how many Jerrys would be saved. Imagine how many Jerrys would be saved. And just that reminder of the purpose, why I was doing what I was doing, and how many people's life could be saved by me doing that, helped me get over that fear and deliver my message. And so I think this is so important to kind of realize what is your purpose, why you are doing what you're doing, what is important for you, and then kind of bringing that in life. I think one of the things that I learned from your other talk was that you identify how whatever small task you are doing, how that would connect to your purpose in life. So can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah. Absolutely. And so when we're struggling to do things on a day-to-day basis, when we're having a hard time going through any challenge, and it's funny, I just worked on this with a client today as well this morning, is they're going through a divorce. And so that can be quite challenging. And it's when we're asking those questions is how is that task and the things that they're having to do on a day-to-day basis, the things that are really hard, actually serving the long-term purpose and the vision that he got tears of gratitude for what he was going through and what he was doing. And he said, I can see more clearly now that this is the way it's meant to be. I can see it more clearly because when you can see that, those tasks that sometimes seem daunting or overwhelming or challenging will all of a sudden be on the way to your purpose. And then it's something that fuels you. Remember, anything that has purpose fuels you. It's like the story that you were telling with the anxiety at first, and then you brought forward that purpose. And what did that bring forward instead? That gets you to stop focusing on emotions. It gets you to stop focusing on your own personal judgments of yourself. And it gets you to start instead focusing on what's more important, which are the people in front of you. That's the reality. And when you take yourself out of the equation, what do you have to be anxious about? If you lose that persona, what's to be anxious about? You just get to go be yourself and share the information and knowledge that you know could be of service and assistance to these people. So when you ask that question, it's like, how does this actually serving my purpose? How is by doing this task, going through this experience, serving what's most valuable to me, serving my message, serving my mission? And you realize that you don't need to run from challenges. You don't have to hide from them. They don't need to overwhelm you. They don't need to overcome you. You could be caught up in that storm and still move forward with grace and gratitude. That's the truth.
Yeah, that's so wonderful and that's so powerful. And I'm getting so many tips out of today. And so my favorite tip is kind of instead of going through feeling that stuck when you were talking about see the reason from the background that you are creating the stories to compare yourself with, and you're afraid of moving because of the stories or of the consequences, and kind of working through. I think that is my favorite tip from today's discussion. Let me ask our audience, what is your favorite from today's program? Please share in the comment below or send a message through email or the platform that you're accessing this program. We love to get the feedback. And if you love this program, show it by liking, subscribing. And if you benefited from the program, guess what? Others will too. We all want to make a difference in other people's lives. So all you have to do is click the share button, and when others benefit, you get to bask in the benefit too. And if you found value in our discussion, we have an additional gift for you, which may make it even more helpful. And so Carly is sharing a document called Our Life by Design. Move out of a life of duty and create a life by design. And so, Carly, can you share in a couple of sentences what they would get when they get this gift?
Yes, so they're going to get a little bit of some processes and quality questions to ask themselves to help them better identify with what's important to them and how to design their life daily to make sure it's aligned with that. So we get less burnout, more fulfillment, more inspiration, and like that part that gets to connect with what's really purposeful, we can kind of shift through our emotions and our baggages more easily.
Wonderful, wonderful. So to get this gift, just go to happyandhealthymind.com and you can download this gift and all the other resources shared by our wonderful guest on this program for free. And it is our gift for you as an appreciation for being a loyal follower. And before I end, I also want to share a new program that I am doing, which is called Reverse Burnout with Precision Wellness. So in this program, we're going to help leaders reverse the effect of this chronic stress that builds on the body and sometimes leads to hormonal effects, difficulty losing weight, problem with irritability, concentration. All these are, so we call the chronic effects of stress burnout. And so in this program, we are going to use your own genetic testing to show you what may or may not work for you, your own hormonal testing, and mind training to help you reset your body and reverse some of the effects that chronic stress has had on your body. If you'd like, please go ahead and check out the program at reverseburnoutcoaching.com. I would love to help you if you're interested. And if you think it is your time to take the action of reversing these effects on your mind and your body. And so let me leave you with one question. Every day is a new day, new opportunity to make a change. What is one thing you're going to choose today to change and explore what may be making you stuck and design your life by choice? On that note, stay safe, happy, and healthy. Until next time, Dr. Rozina. And thank you, Carly, for joining us today.
Thank you.